Tim, I know you've had a long day at work, and it's late there in Adelaide, and immediately prior to recording with me, you've been leading a prayer meeting at your church. Is a prayer meeting a good way to warm up for podcasting?
Absolutely. A prayer meeting is a good way to warm up for anything.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate good warm-up.
Did you pray for a good podcast? Did you put that request in, or is that would that be cheating, getting God to help us?
Unbelievably, we had even more important things to pray about. I know.
Really? Hardly anything's happening in the world at the moment. What else could you pray about besides the Unmade podcast?
I know. It's like, give me an idea, Lord. What is the idea? And he's got, you've got a big list of ideas. I'm like, but they're crap ideas. And he's like, but I gave you those ideas, And then I'm like, okay, I'll have another look at them.
Are you allowed to say the word crap in a prayer?
Yes. You can say anything in a prayer, as long as you're honest.
Do you ever swear in your prayers?
Yes, I have. Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
If you're angry when you're praying or honest absolutely. The rule for prayer is sincerity. We covered this several podcast episodes ago. I feel like you have not taken notes.
We didn't cover swearing in praying.
No, that's true, because you're interviewing my mum, and that's not a topic relevant to her in any shape or form.
I love the idea of a swear prayer.
A swear prayer, yeah. Oh, look, I've prayed. I mean, I've did a lot of ministry with, like street kids and people from complex background, people that talk like normal Australians do, and we swear a lot. Oh, yeah, there's nothing like a person talking to God honestly, dropping F-bombs left, right and centre. It's fantastic.
F and amen.
Yeah. Not pretentiously, right. Like it just flows out of them because that's the way they talk, and it's sincere and it's heartfelt. It's fantastic. Okay. Beautiful. Much better than a pretentious prayer from a person who's eloquent and,
I would only ever pray in Latin.
Would you? Right.
Well, I'm very strict about that.
Uminus comptus umptus is what I always say to that. It's
umptus. I don't know what that means, but it sounds good. Oompa loompa dumpity doo. I have another prayer for you. Some parish notices. In the previous proper episode, Tim had an idea for the best song you've never heard. A song that maybe you really enjoy, but you think lots of other people haven't heard. And we've heard from lots of people about this. Go to our subreddit for episode 132 and read all the things people sent in. I'm not going to read all of them, partly because there's a few too many, and also I'll get brought unstuck by the pronunciation of some songs and bands. But I'll read a couple of messages here. Unregistered Sarcasm said, the best song you've never heard is Western Medicine by a band called Hoax. It's a strong contender for my favourite song ever, and nobody else knows it. Not one you know, Tim?
No, I don't.
Good. Meeting the criteria then?
Yes, indeed.
Atomic Mr. Pelly said, my obscure song would be You and I by Queen. I think it's well known to Queen fans, but the average person probably hasn't heard of it because it's not on either of the greatest hits albums. But it's an absolute banger. You and I by Queen.
Can I ask? Well, I'm not much of a Queen fan. I'm a bit over Queen. I think everyone's been a bit too Queen obsessed recently. So, but can I ask that person's? It's not their real name, obviously, but it's Atomic Kitten, was it?
No, Atomic Mr. Pelly.
Wow, that's a band name right there.
A couple of messages here I thought Tim might find interesting. This comes, again, on the subreddit. This comes from Turkleton. Hi, Brady and Tim. On this episode, you were talking about the podcast idea, the best song you've never heard. I have a slightly different angle, but I can share with you my take. I've been a musician my whole life. Musicians in quote marks there. I've been playing the guitar and piano for 15 years, so you can say I'm into music. However, I have never heard the song Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. I don't know how it happened, but I realised it and how weird it is when I was 17 and decided I will keep the streak. Any time I hear the intro to the song, I always close my ears, leave the room, turn it off. I've been going strong for a long time, despite this song being a must-know for any guitar player.
That's a brilliant idea. So he's not going to hear the most popular songs. Clever. I like that.
And there was a reply to that from the Banjo Lady, who said, way back when I was 17 again, and playing mostly folk music, I learned to play the opening bars of Stairway to Heaven. Whenever my friends accused me of not knowing any good songs, I'd slam through the intro, then stop cold and stare them down. It worked every time. I'm not sure I actually ever heard the song in its entirety. It's the best song you sorta heard.
What do you think of Stairway to Heaven? Do you think it's a good song?
Do you know, I don't think I really know it. I kind of know like a bit of it and recognise little bits of it, but it's not a song I'm particularly familiar with at all. Like I don't think I know how it goes when it really gets going. I know like the slow starty bit, but it's not really a song that means anything to me.
I'm the same. I know it well and have heard it probably a lot more times than you, but I don't love it as a song. I don't particularly like Led Zeppelin. The fun bit is the end bit when he goes, and as you wind on down the road, bum, 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 bum. But all that slow, meandering, mystical sort of stuff doesn't do anything for me.
I mean, I don't want to get like overly religious, although we are going to go a bit religious in this episode shortly, but I don't want religion to take over the episode. But my only memory and my only thought about the song Stairway to Heaven is a memory I had when I was in high school. And there was a friend of mine who was very devout, very strict Christian. The topic of the song Stairway to Heaven came up, and he got really mad and refused to talk about it. And apparently there's some story that the person who wrote the song like shut their eyes or closed their eyes and then woke up and the song had been written for them, apparently by demons. So there was this story that the song was written by demons, and for that reason you weren't allowed to even talk about it. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it's the only thing I know about the song. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's an urban... Well, I doubt it's true. I don't know if it's a well-known urban legend or it was just something he knew or everyone knows this story. But when you say the name of that song, that's my only memory is this guy getting his knickers in a twist because apparently the song was written by demons.
They're pretty talented demons, you'd say. I mean, if they can just whip out a song that quickly, you'd have to say they're very... I would like to meet these demons. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I'd like to go to one of their gigs.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, look, I've heard lots of, growing up, I heard a lot of things about rock and roll because rock and roll was it's still relatively new in the decades. And so there's bands that have mystical things and things about Satan and demons. And remember there was this idea of backmasking, that if you played a song backwards, there was like a message from the devil in it and all that kind of stuff. And that is all. Yeah. That was all taken a bit too seriously by adults.
Oh, that was huge. That was huge in the 80s. Like,
golly, my God, yes. Who paid precious little attention to what it was saying forwards, but were very concerned about what it was saying backwards.
Let's just pause for a moment and have a listen to the Sofa Shop backwards and see if we can hear any demonic messages.
Oh.
Well, make what you want of that.
You rest your case, yes.
I wonder if the Sofa Shop was written by demons. No, it was written by Quentin Ayres.
Yes,
he's not a demon.
No,
he's a very nice man.
He goes by the code name. He goes by the name Q, though, which is, kind of sounds like he's an agent or something, or being deployed.
Yeah. Oh, Tim.
Demon Q. Please write another jingle. Continue being a lovely guy.
Yes. All right, well, continuing the theme of religion. Got a bit of a real religious start to
So we've gone from a prayer meeting to parish notices, which included a conversation about Stairway to Heaven, and now for something different.
For something different, we're going to talk about the 12 apostles, because in the last episode, in the bean dish quiz, the reverse bean dish quiz, and in the quiz before that, both times Tim and I challenged each other to name the 12 apostles. These 12 famous followers of Jesus, for those who don't know who the 12 apostles are. They were like his wingmen, his main dudes.
It was sort of his gang. His
gang.
Yeah. They had like leather jackets and matching, that
They were. They were like the Bloods and stuff, the Thunderbirds, the T-Birds. So anyway, we heard from Vince. Vince said, "Hi, I'm a big fan of the pod. I just want to help you guys remember the 12 apostles. And he sent a link to a video with a song and an animation. It's quite a sort of a kiddie animation and a cute little song. He said, "It's for kids, but it might help. Ha ha, it helped me, smiley face," from Vince. And Vince has sent us this song. I believe it's on the Jehovah's Witness website, jw.org, you know. So there we go. And I've had a listen to it a few times. It's become a bit of an earworm for me over the last 20 minutes. I reckon I've listened to it about 7 or 8 times.
When Jesus was on earth, he had some very special friends.
I asked Tim to have a listen so he could cast not only his more discerning music ear, but his incredible theological knowledge over this. And I was wondering what you thought of it, Tim.
They were called apostles, and there were 12 of them.
Well, there are a few ways to analyse this. It is accurate. It has the apostles in it. There are 12.
Yep.
From a theological point of view, yes, there they are. From a musical point of view, clearly genius. Clearly genius.
Written by demons, perhaps?
Better than Stairway to Heaven. That's right.
I don't think demons wrote a song about the 12 apostles. They're doing a bit of... They're really infiltrating they're really embedded there, aren't they? Double agents.
They were there when Jesus healed the sick, the blind, the deaf and lame. Now let's try to remember all 12 of them by name.
But I do. It's one of those... look, I have to say, on the one hand, I find this nauseating. Like, it's got that cheesy American saccharine kind of thing that's like... It's the sort of thing you'd expect the Flanders on The Simpsons to be listening to. And that just... I find that so repulsive, to be honest.
There was Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, Thomas, Judas, Matthew.
On the other hand, I can't stop singing it.
The other James, Simon and Thaddeus, and don't forget Bartholomew.
And don't forget Bartholomew.
So, I wonder if, talking of Q, the magical jingle writer who wrote The Sofa Shop, I wonder if he could come up with something more catchy than this about the 12 apostles.
Oh,
God.
I don't think we could afford him.
Maybe not.
If anyone wants to write a better song to help us remember the names of the 12 apostles, the challenge has been laid down. And there are a few of our civilians in particular who I'm thinking of who I can imagine grasping this nettle.
Yes.
I look forward to hearing from them.
This is sort of upgrading a little bit. I mean, doing your version of The Sofa Shop was one thing, but actually writing a whole new song to help memorise 12 names, that's another challenge. That's quite a challenge. And it's got to be catchy.
Yeah. I mean, hats off to this Jehovah's Witness version, though. Managing to rhyme the word lame with name, I thought was very clever. Like, you know, talking about Jesus curing the lame and then remembering the apostles by name. I liked it. Can I ask you this? I've got a few questions here and a few observations. One is, do you think in this song they're listed purely in a way that works for the pattern of the singing and rhyming, or are they named in any kind of priority? Because they start with Peter, and I always think of Peter as like the number one apostle. He's always like, you know, he's the main man, and they do name him first. So that made me think, oh, are they named in any kind of priority here? Because the last one they name is Bartholomew, who they kind of talk down a little bit by saying, you know, oh, don't forget Bartholomew.
Yeah.
And the second last is Thaddeus, who's one that no one remembers. So are they prioritised here? Because they start with Peter, James, John, Andrew.
There was Peter, James, John, Andrew.
Peter certainly is the leader. Like, he has a particular commission where Jesus says to him, he changes his name. His name's Simon. He changes it to Peter and says, which means rock. And on this rock, I'll build my church. So he's kind of traditionally understood as the foundation of the church, which is why, like the St. Peter's Basilica, where the Pope is, the seat of the church for what was the Catholic Church, or what is now the Catholic Church, was then the church is named after St. Peter. So he's kind of the leader. And then Peter, James, and John they're kind of a bit closer. They have they're like an inner sanctum for Jesus,
like a clique.
A clique, yeah. They're like a little, an executive. They're kind of the executive. That's right.
Oh, no. Executive.
And he throws some of the more important questions around them. Sometimes he consults with everyone. Sometimes he makes decisions on his own. But every now and then he says, look, we're looking at lunch tomorrow. Let me bring you guys in on this. What are you thinking? Euros's, flatbread?
Deputy Jesus.
Deputies.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And I like how in the song and in the animation, I recommend the animation people to go and have a look, how the first time through, they just drop in Judas in the middle there like he's just a normal dude, and they don't badmouth him or make him look bad. Like, he's Judas, yeah. They don't foreshadow what's to come. But then obviously in the second verse, they talk about how, one of them goes bad and loses his faith. But they don't name him.
But one of them disobeyed. He did not keep his faith.
If you watch it, you might figure out it's Judas, but they don't name him in the song if you're just listening. So, they don't really pick on him.
Well, Jesus included him, didn't he? If brought him in. You're gonna betray me, and yet somehow that's part of the plan, and somehow, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still gonna love you and bring you in and teach you stuff, and there you go. The black sheep, but yet he's in the flock.
He's in the flock. Played a big role.
Certainly in Jesus Christ Superstar, he plays a big role. Gets some of the cool songs. So,
It does. Yeah.
Not that
made
was
it all
part
worthwhile.
Of God's, that's not what God was planning. This is going to look great on the stage later on.
No, God would have known. God knows everything. God would have known he was going to get a cool song 2,000 years later.
And we'll get John Stevens from Noiseworks in Australia to do it. That will be good.
That's awesome. All right. Anyway, look forward to hearing other people's submissions to help us remember the 12 apostles. So next time we do a Bean Dish quiz, one of us will nail it. One of us will get all 12.
The other James, Simon and Thaddeus, and don't forget Bartholomew.
Go on, Tim. Go on. I'll give you 30 seconds. Name the apostles.
Peter. Now let me sing. Peter and James. I don't know it well enough. Peter, James, and John. Andrew.
Yep.
The other James. Judas. Thomas. Bartholomew. Thaddeus. And I think that's.
You were so quick.
It.
Did you name Philip?
Yep.
You did. No, you didn't. Philip. And did you do Simon? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you did pretty well then. That song was obviously helped. It's already ingrained a bit into you.
I wonder if Jesus remembered them all. Like, he was like, how many are there? And he had to go, hang on, who's missing? Oh, hang on, let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12. Yep, okay, let's move on. Where's Bart? Where's Thad? Where's Phil?
I wonder if he'd name 11 and then he was like, oh, I can't remember. And then he popped out from behind a tree and said, and don't forget Bartholomew.
We said, are we all here? And Thomas says, I doubt it.
Time for a podcast idea. Here's one from me. Tim, I always think a big theme or one thing we always try to do with our ideas is if we want to do like an interview podcast where it involves having guests, the challenge is always to come up with a format that you can use to have your guest come on and show them in a new light, or just create a theme that's not just so-and-so interview so-and-so. The classic example, and we talk about it all the time, is Desert Island Discs, where someone comes onto this BBC show and picks a bunch of songs, talks about the songs they chose, and at the same time, they use that as a way to talk about their life and their biography. There are all sorts of formats you could do it with. We've had several ideas over the years. Another one that springs to mind is dog walking. I remember there was one where someone would go out walking with the guest and the guest's dog, and while they walked their dogs out in the park, you would talk to them. It's another way of putting someone at ease, showing them in a new light. So today, my idea is a format, and it's a format that guests come on to. They participate in the format.
Right.
And also, you interview them. So let's get to the format. And where the format comes from is a place that I occasionally visit. I'm not proud of it, but I occasionally go to this burger van near where I live. The sort of van that does, sausages and bacon on a roll for breakfast. Or at lunchtime, you can get a cheeseburger. Mm-hmm. And it's just almost like a big, huge caravan that's just parked in a car park. You know the type of thing I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Very common in the UK. Mm-hmm. This particular one that I sometimes go to is called, and this is why I'm even more ashamed of it, it's called Belly Busters Burger Bar.
Right.
Belly Busters. Yeah. So anyway, I'm a very happy customer. But one thing they have there, they have all these advertisements and bits of paper and stuff stuck all over the van, advertising what they sell on that. And one of these things they do is called the Ultimate Belly Buster Baguette Challenge.
Right.
And what you can do is for £15, you can buy this baguette, right? And I'll tell you what it is. It's 2.5 feet long. Mm. It's a white, fresh baguette. And on it, they put 6 pieces of bacon, 6 sausages, 6 eggs, your choice of mushrooms, hash brown, or both if you dare. Choice of any sauce, and you get a free drink to wash it down. And up until 1 p.m. each day, you can order one of these, and then you have 1 hour to eat it all.
Right.
And if you eat the whole thing in an hour, you get a 50% off of your food voucher. You get a certificate and your name and photo on the Belly Buster Hall of Fame. And the Belly Buster Facebook page too, just to add to the glory. Mm. Have you got what it takes? They challenge us. There you go. So my idea for a podcast is to have guests. Could be anyone. Could be our good friend Tom Hanks, Margot Robbie, Nick Cave, whoever you like, your sports star of choice. Mm-hmm. Come join us at Belly Busters and take the Ultimate Belly Buster Baguette Challenge. And over the course of an hour, as they attempt to eat this mammoth baguette, you interview them. And talk to them. And then at the end, which celebrities can finish it? Can any celebrities finish it? Could you finish it, Tim?
No, not anymore. Once upon a time, but I think my appetite's gone. But you want to talk to them while they chew. So is an hour too tight? Like is it so big, you've seen it obviously, that you just have to eat and eat and eat to get it done in an hour? Or do you think there's plenty of time to take a bite and muse?
You have not asked me. Has anyone completed this challenge? Who's in the Hall of Fame?
Well, yeah. Well, are there people who have?
One person has done it. I spoke to the staff at Belly Busters and said, has anyone ever tried this? And they said, yeah, it gets tried from time to time. A few dozen times people have tried it. Only one person has completed it. A guy called Matt did it in 25 minutes and 29 seconds.
Wow.
Everyone else has failed so far. And I said, what was his secret? How did he do it? And this woman who was making my burger witnessed the great moment and told me the secret was he ate all the filling first, so the 6 bits of bacon, sausages, eggs and stuff like that, ate all the filling, and then he ate the baguette second, and he had a glass of water, and he kept dipping the baguette in the water to make it all soft and soggy and then eat it. Right. So he didn't get the dry mouth problems you would have with this great big fresh baguette. That was his secret. That's the secret to finishing.
So wise. Yes. Well done, Matt.
Yeah, well, they don't call him Matt for nothing. So, there you go. The Ultimate Belly Buster Baguette Challenge. Remember when, back in the 80s and 90s, gluttony things and gluttony world records used to be a big thing? It was on the news all the time.
Yeah,
But I think the Guinness Book of Records, outlawed it because it started getting dangerous and people started, having accidents and getting sick and stuff like that. So I know hot dog eating is still something that we see a lot of. You still see hot dog eating world records, but most other speed eating or mass eating contests are sort of frowned upon these days, unless you're at Belly Buster's Burger Bar, in which case, before 1 p.m. each day, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong.
That's awesome. I wonder, you haven't met Matt? You weren't given the contact details of Matt to talk through they knew his strategy. They observed it and admired it when he did it.
Yeah, I'd love to meet him. I'll see if I can track him down. I'll go back to Belly Busters and see if anyone's got his details. Clearly he did it there. They have to observe you doing it. Yes. You have to do it there. It's written in the rules, and you have to. It says specifically in the rules it has to be done by an individual. Yep. And it has to be done at the burger bar. Are you tempted to do this yourself? No, I'd enjoy the bacon. I could probably just do the bacon and the sausages. 6 eggs is too much for me.
That's a lot. That's a lot of food. That's a huge amount of food to be eating. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind ordering one just to get a nice picture of it and see it being made. I might. We'll go and see. If you had to like break a record for eating lots of food quickly, what would be your food of choice? What's a food you think you could put down at a good pace and a lot of?
I know that the cliche answer, you might be expecting KFC, but I don't think so. I like to, savor that, and that fills you up very, very quickly. I could eat a lot of hot dogs. Every time I finish a hot dog, I feel like another hot dog. So I understand why that's appealing, particularly with lots of mustard on it. Cereal, I could go sort of just, if I'm on a roll with cornflakes, I could do, another bowl of cornflakes and another bowl after that. What else works well? I mean, ice cream, things like that, you can sort of just keep going with. On a hot day, those icy pole things, Zupa Dupas we've talked of before. I mean, you could just go 20 of those watching the cricket one summer's day, no problems whatsoever.
I can't see a point where I would stop eating lovely fresh prawns, shrimp. Like, if it's all shelled and done all nice, like, why would you stop? Like,
yeah, I know. And they're not very filling either. You could eat a lot of prawns. Yeah, even just chips, you can eat a lot of chips. If there's hot chips there, I mean, how often do you stop eating chips before the bucket or the bag's empty? Never, ever. Never once, even ever in your whole life.
True, good point, yeah. Would you enjoy my Belly Buster Baguette Challenge podcast? And what guest would you most like to see on it?
I wonder if it would be difficult to talk people into doing this. I mean, they might say, I'm happy to come and have a chat and I'll sit next to it. I don't know if I can eat all of it because it does, say something about you. But
it's not a good look.
No, it's not. It's not even a great achievement to say, well, I did it. That's
why I like how on the challenge, on the poster where they lay down the challenge at the van, they do say your picture will go into the Belly Buster Hall of Fame and Facebook page, and it says brackets optional.
Optional, yeah. I was wondering if that was a threat more than
yeah.
I know some people that would just like to go and do this for lunch, but don't want people to know that they've done it for lunch. What do you order when you go there? Do you get a bagel?
I like having a white soft bun, or a bap as they would call it in the UK. So nice soft white bun with sausage and bacon and a bit of brown sauce.
Oh, right, okay. Like bagel shaped, or you mean like a round bun, like a burger?
But around like a bun, like a burger bun, yeah, like a fluffy white bready bun, yeah, a bap they would call it, yeah.
Bap, that's a funny name for it. Why do they call it a bap? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I don't.
Which bit's a bap? The bread bit's called a bap, is it? Or
the bread's the bap, yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
No, the bread. So like you'd have like you can have chips. Some people are having hot chips in a bap, or
really.
We're back from that bit that we had to edit out, and Tim, who would you most like to have on the podcast?
Who would I most like to? It's always. Who is it nice to? It's always good to get a politician on eating. That's the best part of a campaign, where they have to go and they're forced to eat something in an awkward way, and they're always going to
be like so they look like you look like a man of the people or a woman of the people.
Yeah. And people always pay them. Oh, he ate it the posh way. Look, he had the posh mayonnaise or something like that, and it's framed, and they lose the messaging of the day. So I'm trying to think someone along those lines, or. People you see out of context, so people, like rock stars and people who are used to looking cool and on stage, or pop stars. Just, I remember someone years ago, Ben Elton, I think, talked about the fact that he says you got to remember that Prince, before he gets up there and does his groovy moves, he's backstage on the toilet. So 5 minutes before he goes on stage, everyone's on the toilet, and so this image of Prince, wearing this purple glamorous sequin sort of top, just on the toilet, is in my mind, and it's just sort of hard to revere someone once you've got that image, but there we all are. So pretty good idea. I'm unconvinced about the execution, getting it to actually happen with the people, but it is a good premise, coming along and taking the challenge. And if it gained momentum, like it was the thing to be doing, then this business would love you, but it would be a good premise. Yeah,
I don't actually think it's a good podcast. It might be a fun video series, but you're right. No one's going to agree to do it. I guess the theme would be, I mean, no one would ever finish it. Maybe it would just be, I don't know. It would be a good, like, you would look like a person of the people agreeing to go to this burger van for a podcast. So it would be good. But yeah, it wouldn't look good if you just spent the whole hour smashing this huge baguette of food.
It's like, can't answer any questions. Can't talk to you. I just need to focus on the food. That's right. I will be your guest. I will come. I will come, man, if you want to get this thing going and be your first guest.
All right.
Yes, I will lend my massive reputation and name to this podcast.
Yes, you will bust your belly for the good of my podcast.
I will. It'll be like, wow, Brady Herron's managed to get Tim Hine onto his podcast.
Well, yeah.
How did he swing that?
This episode has been supported by Hover.
Hang on. Before we get to Hover, which I love, by the way, I do think this podcast has also been supported a little bit by your favourite place to go and eat, who you'll now be dining at for free from now on.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was thinking about what to talk about today when I talked about Hover. Because Hover is obviously a domain registrar company. We talk about them all the time. I hope you know them by now. If you need to register a domain, go to hover.com/unmade. Use the /unmade to get 10% off your purchase. But whether it's for your personal life or business and that, it's really, really handy to have a few domains. Like bradyharron.com is a useful domain for me to have, or numberfile.com, or unmade.fm. But I was thinking, Bellybusters need to get in on this. And I went and I had a look about what was available on Hover for the people at Bellybusters. And, they can get bellybusters.site for just $4.99 at the moment. Less than $5. They could have bellybusters.site. And they could build their own Hall of Fame or web page or whatever based on this challenge. And all they would have to do is go to bellybusters.site. It's so catchy and easy. Or if they don't want to build a website, because not everyone wants to build their own website, they could just get bellybusters.site and divert it to that Facebook page where they have it. It's just so much catchier and more easy to say, hey, go to bellybusters.site. Or for less than $14, they could have bellybusters.club. If they wanted to start my podcast, bellybusters.fm is available. Bellybusters.cafe is available. Bellybusters.kitchen is available. If they wanted to teach people the techniques for completing the challenge, bellybusters.school is available. Bellybusters.academy is available. If they want to be a bit fun, bellybusters.diet is available. If you've got a business or an idea, go to Hover and find out what's available. Having a clever domain name is a clever thing to do.
Can you say Bellybusters one more time?
I should probably say Hover a few more times. They're the ones actually paying for the ad. Go to hover.com/unmade. Hover.com/unmade. 10% off. They're a great sponsor. They're a great service. I have many, many domains registered with them. Even Tim has domains registered with Hover, and Tim is a total Luddite.
We were in Hover. I was in Hover this week we have launched a new website for our church at Malvern Uniting Church. And we we went into Hover to, do the little numbers and configuration. So the new site comes to it and so forth. Easy as pie. Graphic designer did it, but I showed, I knew what to do and saw it. I'm doing this now, and I was in there. Yep, click, 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 and here we go. Easy.
There you go, people. Sorry about all that technical jargon Tim dropped there, but yeah, check them out. Hover.com/unmade. I think maybe it's time for a brief return of one of our favourite segments. It's time for... Spoon of the Week! Don't panic. You don't have to get one of the Hine family spoons.
Oh, I've got them here. I've got a few in my bag all the time. But no.
Well, we can always come back to them. I do want to revisit that treasure trove at some point. But today I want to do Spoon of the Week because... we had an email that I enjoyed and I thought you might like from one of our Patreon supporters, Philip. And Philip writes, Dear Brady and Tim, I'm loving all the Spoon of the Weeks and I follow it all with great interest. This segment has reminded me of a spoon that I hold near and dear to my heart. Sadly, I am not willing to part with it yet, but I have attached pictures of the spoon in question. Just to put that in some context, people, we do encourage you to send us spoons if you like. I'll include details of where to send the spoons in the show notes. We're always willing to receive spoons at our postbox. Tim, I will send you some pictures of Philip's spoon.
I love that his name is Philip.
Of course. But don't forget Bartholomew. While you wait for those pictures to arrive, I'll continue reading. This spoon is one made as a present for me following my birth. Made as a present. The top of the handle is decorated with my name and time of birth, 6:30 p.m. And the stem of the spoon is decorated with my weight and height following my birth. The spoon is made from silver.
Wow.
And if people have a close look at the handle, the time actually, there's like a little clock at the top, like etched into the spoon. And the time is actually set to, I make that 6:25, not 6:30. But anyway, there you go. Very, very accurate. So what a great memento.
That's beautiful.
While I do not expect this to make it onto Spoon of the Week, think again, Philip, I thought you might enjoy a different kind of spoon for your collection. Keep doing what you two are doing. You are the highlight of my feed, and I'm always excited when I see you appear. All the best. Philip, it is us who is excited by your custom-made birth spoon. Thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, no, this is beautiful. What a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really gorgeous.
Do you know what I wish we had the budget to do? Every time someone became a Patreon supporter of the podcast, we took the exact date and time they became a patron and sent them a custom-made spoon like this.
Yes.
To mark the occasion. That's how much it means to us. It's like the birth of someone new when someone joins us on Patreon.
It is. It's like they've been born again. Just to keep...
Yes. That's your new life. Yeah.
What's the date on there? Does it say 93? The 26th of the 6th, 93. Wow. So in June of the year, we're doing year 12 together. Fantastic. Wow, that's beautiful. What a wonderful idea. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful practice.
I like how Philip says, I'm not willing to part with it yet. Does that imply there is a time that he will send it to us? Just not now?
Just send it to... Not pass it on to the next generation or to an heirloom.
No.
Just to a couple of jerks with a podcast.
To be honest, though, I mean, do you think Philip's, future offspring are really going to care? Or current offspring are going to care? Probably not. Whereas we would treasure this. We might even put it on a collector card.
His kids wouldn't put it on a collector card. They may keep it forever, but they wouldn't necessarily put it on a collector card. No, they would not. But if he goes onto a collector card, then all of his offspring can have one.
Do you own a physical object that you ever think about, either of your daughters having when you die?
What of mine? There's a few things like my rings, but I imagine they'll keep them. I don't think they'll wear them, but I imagine they'll keep them.
I hope not. I don't think they'd wear them. I wouldn't wear them.
No. They're not. They're male rings, yeah. But they might give them to their...
I'm a male.
No. Well, of a kind. That's true. What else is there? There's not many other things in the house. I mean, there may be some special books. It's mainly the podcast stuff, like the signed book from Tom Hanks. I think they'll keep that. I think they love that.
I do sometimes when I'm holding my baby boy and he claws and paws and looks at my watch and grabs my watch. I sometimes think, I wonder if he'll be wearing this watch one day.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
I've got a couple of nice watches and I'd like, that will outlast me. I like the idea that he might wear them, in the future.
Watches have a lovely sense about them like that, in that they can last a long time and generationally if they're well made. That's a lovely idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he'll hock it to buy a few more comics or something when he's about 13.
Yeah. You can do that too. You've written me off to be dead by the time he's 13, have you? Thanks for that.
Oh, no. He doesn't know. I thought you might give it to him when he comes of age, not that he inherits it after you die. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, sure.
Fair enough.
I got my rings from Dad long before he died. Well, one of them anyway.
The other one you pinched, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's nice. I didn't know they were from your dad, those rings. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, one of them's from my dad. The other one my father wore for many years, but it actually comes from my mum's dad, who passed it on to give to whoever married her. And that's why he won it. So there's a couple of generations in that one, which is nice.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, man. Your fingers are loaded with meaning.
They are. Not wealth, because they're not really worth anything, but they have value in my heart.
Are you sure? Have you taken them to cash converters for an appraisal?
Not cash converters, but I have taken them to a gold dealer when I took some other stuff. And when I got them when I got one of them repaired and so forth, yeah. They have some value, but they're not. It's not like it's it's not like it's Philip spoon or anything. I mean, it's
No. All right.
One of a kind.
Thank you, Philip, for sharing the spoon. At this point in the podcast, often we announce some prizes for Patreon supporters. We're not doing that today because Brady was in a big hurry and couldn't crack out the other computer that has all the algorithm and the software on it that I use to choose. So we're going to skip that today. But if you are a Patreon supporter, hang around to the end of this episode, because we are going to announce something new exclusively for Patreon supporters that is a really big deal and really exciting. And we're really excited about. It's a big deal. It's a big change for the podcast, and we'll announce that at the end of the episode.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Can I just pull you up on something? On the other computer, what is this, like 1985, where you've got like you can't share files or access your files from two computers?
I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, but the main computer I'm sitting on now that I use most of the time has slightly older software because I don't want to make my editing software die, and I need to use other software on the computer that has the algorithm that's not compatible with this computer. So it actually is a case of incompatible software between the two devices. Look, long, boring story. I shouldn't have even brought it up. It's like Tim trying to explain how Hover works. My
point about Hover is that I have no clue about these things, and yet I used it because it's so good.
Yes. All right. Tim, have you got an idea for a podcast?
Look, can I just mention something? There might be an idea in this, but it's not. But it's just something I want to mention as an idea. And there is an idea in this, which is, and if I was to say it was an idea, the idea would be called "I wish I was the kind of guy who," or "I wish I was the kind of person who," and you can fill in the blanks from there.
Yep.
This might be just a very slight idea, but it's been sitting with me all day.
Yep.
And it was prompted by an experience this morning, because I wish, once again, that I was the kind of person who could tie knots, like cool knots for different purposes.
Like sailors' knots, like reef knots and all those.
Yeah. Which seems like a totally pointless and amazing skill until you need to tie something. And I've got one go-to knot, which is what I use on my laces. And otherwise I just keep going over and over, like 10 knots of the same thing. But I know there's cool exotic knots that would be really useful, and I don't know them.
I've got a couple of things to say to that. I love the idea for the podcast, by the way, and we'll come back to that. I love the idea of, I wish I was the sort of person who, and something came into my mind too, which I'll tell you in a minute. But first of all, I want to talk about knots. Apparently, I'm a terrible tire of shoelaces, and my wife wants me to make a video and put it on YouTube showing people how I tie shoelaces because she thinks it's so weird. So I'm not a talented knot tire, but the best example of my failure to tie knots is always when I try and tie a knot in a balloon. It is my absolute kryptonite, blowing up a balloon and then tying that knot, because I'm always trying to do balloons for like the baby because he loves playing with balloons, and I blow it up, and I swear it usually takes me 10 goes before I get the knot to work. I don't know how to do it. I wrap the nozzle around my finger and then I try to get it off my finger and put the thing through, and it comes undone, and I cannot tie a knot in the end of a balloon. It is an absolute embarrassment.
I was like you for many years, and then I had a breakthrough moment, and now I find it really easy. And I don't know what I do different, but I know that feeling of going, it's tight. It's so tight around my finger that I can't move it anywhere, and yet somehow I'm supposed to.
And then when it comes off, it straight away closes, and like,
Yeah. But nowadays it does, and I don't know what I'm doing different. Maybe my fingers are different or something.
I guess more years as a dad. And I also imagine, like, you probably do lots of events like wholesome Christian events where you need to do lots of balloons quickly. You've probably done enough of those over the years where you've got to like do 100 balloons in an hour that you kind of just have learned through osmosis.
As you know, the balloon is an important symbol for Christian belief. Like it's used in all our sacred ceremonies.
No, it's not sacred or religiously important, but it is like something that's used as at times of celebration and happiness. And
and youth group activities and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how expansive my balloon experience is. I don't want to brag and overstate it, but somewhere along the line, I got the knack for tying knots, and I feel a little bit proud each time I do it. Like, oh, I can do this now. And
I envy you, man. You're kind of a role model for me now.
I think the trick was I'm bolder. You've got to be really ruthlessly bold about. Like, you can't be scared of the balloon popping.
See, I am scared of the balloon.
No.
I'm not scared of it popping, but I am scared of I'm just scared of not being able to do the knot. Bold balloon tying. You're a bold balloon tyer, Tim. I've always said that about you.
I pull that thing with, no mercy.
Yank it.
Yeah. And then just tie a knot and then,
Does it ever break on you? Has it ever just popped on you because you're so vigorous?
Yeah, there are a few rogue balloon brands out there, and a weaker substandard level balloon will let you down. And, if a couple of them go in the one pack, you've got a rogue balloon company.
Dud batch.
Yep.
I have to say, though, you said at the start, the premise of your podcast is, I wish I was the kind of person who. And I would love to be able to tie cool knots, right? Because I think knots are fascinating. And it's an interesting skill. But I don't... when I think of the sort of person who is a really good knot tyer, I don't immediately think that's the kind of guy I want to be. Like, I don't think they're going to be cool, or they're going to be like, like they're not going to like... I don't look up to them and think, oh, I wish I was like you. I wish I could tie good knots, but I don't want to be known as the kind of guy who's good at knots.
That guy's good at knots.
It could be a bit nerdy. And don't get me wrong, I'm very aware of how nerdy I am, but it's not something like, one revels in. I don't wish I was more nerdy. And secondly, like, it also could be a bit weird. Like, why is that person so good at knots? Like, it's okay if you're a sailor or something, but, sometimes people who are really good at knots are into some weird things, a little bit edgy things.
No,
You know what I'm talking about.
I don't. I think it's more the situation where you got a bunch of guys around and you're all helping someone move house or help carry this big heavy thing or something like that.
Okay.
One person takes control and says, right, throw it here, back it here, throw it back to me now, and so forth. Then one guy is sort of leaning over and doing some sort of mystery dance that you can't see, and then they stand back and there's about, like a hook, shank, shearer's cuff link thing going on that's phenomenal. And then that means that when you get to the other end, all they have to do is like blow on or pull one little thread and the whole thing just sort of unravels beautifully.
Yeah. If you had to tie something to a car, like to the roof of a car or a trailer, I would ask every single other living human on Earth to do it before me. There is no chance I could tie it. Like, I would ask like a baby with hardly developed fingers to tie the knot before me. I'm so bad at tying knots.
Me too. So this morning we were tying something to the roof of our car for my wife, and I don't know, I'm the guy, so I'm sort of taking charge of the knot thing, and she's, humble, so letting me do it, making me a fool. And I'm goes under and over, and I pull it together, and I'm like, all right. And that's when I had this idea. I wish I was the kind of guy who knew what to do next now. But what I do is I do the basic knot, like a standard, and then I say, I'm holding it there, and I'm like, where do I go next? And so I say to my wife, okay, put your finger on there. So that's, like hold that bit while I do something with these big floppy bits.
Yeah.
But of course, all that meant is that I then tied her finger to the knot. So suddenly she's stuck there like your finger with a balloon around. She goes, ow! And I'm like, well, you let go. But
she's actually on top of Tim's car right now, people.
But but so everything's perfect while she's holding her finger on there. But then as soon as I jam her finger, and obviously we can't do the trip with her finger jammed in there, and I'm like, well, take your finger out now, please. So she does that, and I quickly tighten it. But then the whole thing's loose. You know what I mean? Like that's not worked at all.
It's hard. It's hard. Let me tell you the sort of guy I wish I was.
Right.
I wish I was the sort of person who could get away with comfortably wearing a leather jacket. I can't even pull off a denim jacket. Like I can't do denim, yet alone leather.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like a fraud if I wear a leather jacket. And I feel like everyone knows it. Everyone's looking at me going, "Look at that dude. Get that leather jacket off."
That's a walking midlife crisis over there.
I cannot wear a leather jacket. I sometimes wear a denim jacket, but I don't feel comfortable. I'll do it, but no way can I wear a leather jacket. I know you like a denim jacket. Do you ever wear leather jackets?
I've never said this to myself consciously, but I've had a subconscious search going on for about 10 or 15 years for a leather jacket that I would wear. You know what I mean? Like I do peruse them and then don't do anything about it. And so now I stop and think about it. I do have a picture of a particular leather jacket, and it's not. I know people could, if you imagine like a Harley Davidson wearing sort of person, it's not that, and it's not like the one on that George Michael has in the cover of the Faith album. It's not like that with tassels, and
buckles,
things.
and zips,
Nothing like the Michael Jackson's Bad album. It's not. That's how I feel like I probably will look though if I put it on, but it's not. It's not that. It's more of a 70s kind of thing. It's
like a cop would wear.
A cool cop in the sort of late 70s, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. In the movie High Fidelity, the main character in High Fidelity, has a record store, and he comes in with a worn sort of leather. I pretty much wear what he wears. That is a shirt and tight jeans and sneakers every day. But I would love the leather jacket. That looks comfy and cool. John Cusack, that's the actor's name. I've forgotten the character's name.
Like the sort of leather jackets McNulty wears in The Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe what are we lacking? Why can't we do it? Is it because we're not out at night doing action jobs?
Handsomeness,
that could be it. Yeah. We should get leather. We should get leather jackets. Shouldn't we? And we should get a T and a B on them in the breast pocket.
Does the jacket make the man, or does it require a certain man to wear the jacket? That's the question. Which wags which?
I remember one person saying to me once, say, put on this motorbike jacket, and I said, no, I don't have the build for it. And he goes, no, it gives you the build by wearing it.
Right.
I thought, that sounds cool. But I still don't have the build for it. But
it didn't give you the build.
No, it didn't give me the build.
The guy then quietly said, actually, no, you can take that off.
I diminished the jacket.
I was wrong.
My powers were too strong.
The jacket gives most people the build.
Most people. Having said that, I have seen people wear a leather jacket and I've gone, nah, you're not pulling that off.
Nah.
There are some that are a bit too nice. Like I think a leather jacket has to look a bit rustic. And if it's looking a bit too nice or it has a zipper up the front, I'm not up for that at all. That's not cool.
Yeah. Oh, well. There we go. I love your idea. I wish I was the sort of person who... I'd do that. I'd like to do more of that sometime. I'd like to discuss this again. It's a good fun topic.
Can I say... I'll tell you one other thing about knots is whoever's out there writing instructions with illustrations on how to tie a knot, like put the knot through here, give up. Because it's not happening. I can read Latin crossed with Japanese before I can read one of those explanations. I'm lost.
You've either got it or you haven't. I promised there was going to be a treat mentioned for Patreon supporters at the end. If you're not a Patreon supporter and don't intend to become one, ever, stop listening now. But if you are a Patreon supporter or would like to become one, we're trialling something new because we always want to add value to the Patreon supporters because it's a really important thing to the show. Like, I don't like talking the business of podcasts too much, but we don't have millions and millions of listeners, so it's hard for us to make money through advertising to support this. So the Patreon supporters, you guys are really important.
Legends, yes.
So we want to add value for you we want to keep you and make sure you guys are looked after. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to trial a new little thing, a new little extra mini show, a little extra 5-10 minutes at the end. I don't know how long they're going to be. Knowing Tim and I, it'll probably be longer, but the aim is for it to be 5 to 10 minutes, called The Request Room is what we're tentatively calling it, which is just us chatting or doing whatever you want us to do. There might be a topic you want us to discuss. You might want Tim to perform a song. There might be like a dare or a challenge or something. It's not part of the normal show. It's not like the main podcast isn't going to suffer for this. It's not stuff we would normally do on the show. It's not ideas for podcast. The podcast as it stands is going to stay as it always has, free for all and unchanged. This is just a little extra chat, because Tim and I always chat after we record anyway. So we'll just record a little bit of that extra chat and put that probably somewhere different on Patreon. We'll figure that out. So go to Patreon and learn about it. So if you're a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/unmadefm is the place to go. There are links. If you're a Patreon supporter and want some more listening, you might have had enough. But if you want something extra, go and hang out in the request room. I think of it, Tim, kind of like a green room, like a cool room where we just chill out afterwards in our leather jackets with our rider, maybe a big fishbowl of M&Ms and a couple of cool drinks and, groupies outside, and we're just like hanging out,
I do think the request room sounds a little bit like a 90s TV show, you know what I mean? Like, coming up next, we've got a clip from Radiohead, welcome back to the request room, and there's something, there's
like a bit. I keep thinking of the Room of Requirement from Harry Potter, but that's a different thing.
That is a different thing, yes.
Yeah. So the request room. So, and if you have any requests for the request room, you can also leave them over on Patreon. So anyway, we're going to end this episode now.
All right.
But hey, why not come back and join us in the request room? And by the way, if you're wondering what we're going to talk about in the first request room, I think we're going to be talking about bears in this first one. If that's an incentive or not.
Come on, bears! Can't you come up with something? Why bears?
Well, no. Let's say no more. If you want to know more, you've got to go to the request room. All will be explained there.
Bears. Gosh.
And don't forget